My name is Alina Whitaker, and I am 34 years old. For my entire life, my family called me paranoid. They laughed at me for locking the doors and accused me of seeing danger in every shadow, a side effect of my former life as a counterterrorism analyst for the CIA. They treated me like a broken soldier, a woman who saw monsters where there was only normalcy. But on that night, when the back door flew into pieces and 3 armed men stormed our house, the first word my father screamed in the midst of panic wasn't police, it was my name. They didn't know that I had been watching that black SUV circling the block for days. They didn't know about the gun I hid in the kitchen or the secrets I buried to protect them, even though they never believed in me. And above all, they had no idea that this invasion wasn't random. Danger didn't find them by chance. It came looking for me, to retrieve a truth I had sworn never to reveal, a truth that could destroy not just my family, but powerful figures who govern this country. Before I tell you the rest, I demand that you do 2 things. If you have ever been discredited, if you have ever been called crazy for seeing the truth that no one else saw, then smash that subscribe button. Like this video as an act of defiance. Do it now, because the story I am about to tell is not about paranoia. It is about revenge. And you will want to witness every second of how I made them regret the day they stopped laughing and started screaming for me. I parked across the street from my parents' house and sat in silence for 15 minutes, my hands resting on the steering wheel. The white picket fence, the porch lights glowing warm against the October dusk, the immaculately trimmed lawn, it all looked the same. But I didn't feel like I was coming home. I felt like I was about to infiltrate enemy territory. Inside, I could hear the clinking of wine glasses, the mellow sounds of old jazz records, and the kind of laughter people use to remind each other that everything is fine. I stepped through the front door, and for a split second, the air shifted. My mother looked up from her tray of cookies and offered a clipped, "You're right on time, good." My father gave a nod, no smile. Nathan, my younger brother, shook my hand with that same condescending grin he'd worn since he was 16. "Still checking the locks before you walk in, huh?" I'd barely dropped my coat when I noticed the subtle gouge on the back door frame. It wasn't much, just a 1/4-inch nick near the lock. Easy to miss unless you were trained to spot it. I mentioned it over dinner, gently. My mother waved it away, eyes rolling. "Alina, don't ruin the evening." My father's voice was sharper. "You don't have to live like you're still at war to feel useful." Nathan chuckled under his breath. "She probably thinks we've got sleeper agents living in the basement." They laughed. I chewed slower. It didn't surprise me. I'd known this would happen the second I RSVP'd. 10 years since I walked out of this house and into the shadows of Langley. 10 years of classified briefings, of hotel rooms with blackout curtains, of code words and empty cups of black coffee. 10 years of silence, and all they saw was a woman who cracked. But I hadn't cracked. I'd seen too much. And I'd learned long ago that seeing too much and saying too much were often treated the same. After dinner, I wandered into the living room. The fireplace mantel was a shrine of family photos. My parents in their wedding portrait, Nathan in his graduation cap posing beside the aerospace logo he worshipped. Even Bailey, the family dog, mid-leap at the lake. There was not a single photo of me. Not one. Not from high school, not from my training graduation, not even from Christmas 10 years ago when I made it home for 24 hours between briefings. I felt my jaw clench as I stared at the polished wood. It was like I'd never existed here at all. They hadn't just forgotten me, they'd erased me. And yet, I stayed because something wasn't right. Something was coming. I could feel it in my spine, the way I used to feel the hum of surveillance drones before they crested the ridge. The Whitakers might laugh at my instincts, But they didn't know how many lives my paranoia had saved, including their own. Sooner or later, they'd wish they had listened. The party swelled as the evening wore on. My parents' neighbors filed in with bottles of wine and store-bought cakes. I lingered near the buffet table, my fingers wrapped around a sweating glass of seltzer, scanning the windows. There, across the street, was the black van. Same position, no movement, headlights off, engine faintly humming. It had been there since sunset. I excused myself and slipped downstairs to the basement. The window was loose, looser than it should have been. The frame scratched, a small dent near the lock. Subtle, intentional. I called over Tom, the hired security guy, a local in his mid-20s. "Probably just squirrels," he said without even squinting. I didn't press. There was no point. Back upstairs, I unzipped my purse just enough to pull out the encrypted laptop I hadn't touched in nearly a year. It blinked to life immediately, flashing a red dot in the top right corner. A direct message. "Alina, surrender the device or the Whitakers pay." No signature, no logo, but the message came through a buried channel, an internal system only active within the CIA's secure grid. Whoever sent it had serious access, and they knew I was here.
I locked myself in the upstairs bathroom and dialed a number I hadn't used since I left the agency. Sarah Nguyen answered on the third ring. "It's Whitaker," I whispered. "Someone's found me, the Phoenix Protocol. I think they're making a move." There was a pause. "Alina," she finally said, "if that name's showing up again, don't be near anyone you care about." I swallowed. Too late. Back in the living room, I ran my hand along the lining of my purse, feeling for the object tucked beneath. The encrypted hard drive, untouched since 2015. The data inside could unravel careers, operations, entire networks. And now, someone wanted it back. I returned to the party just in time to catch my mother in the middle of a news story. "She's always been a little off," she was saying to her friend Linda. "The CIA let her go when they realized she had issues, emotional ones." The room erupted in laughter. I stood frozen. They weren't just ignoring my warnings, they thought I was a punchline. I drove through the empty streets of Denver with both hands tight on the wheel. When I reached my apartment, I didn't turn on the lights. This wasn't a home, it was a war room. I pulled back the rug and unlocked the hidden panel in the floor. Inside was the hard drive. I plugged it into my system. The drive blinked to life and pulled up a folder. Phoenix Protocol. There it was. All of it. Chatter logs, intercepted codes, logistics plans. Phoenix had never been wiped out like they claimed in the press. They'd simply gone dark, waiting to reemerge. I traced the signal from a GPS tracker coming from my parents' house. It bounced through 4 countries before landing in a ghost node I recognized all too well, Langley. My stomach dropped. This wasn't random. Someone inside the agency had reopened the gates. I drove back before dawn. The back door wasn't locked. Of course it wasn't. I moved through the kitchen on silent feet. On the floor, a boot print, men's size 11, fresh, maybe an hour old. A floorboard creaked behind me. I spun around, just my mother, in her robe. "Elena," she whispered, "your mind is seeing things that aren't there." I turned to leave, and then, on the stairs, Nathan. He looked me in the eyes. He didn't speak, didn't smirk, just held my gaze. Then he turned, walked into his room, and locked it. There would be no more second chances. I stayed. Sleep was impossible. At 3:07 a.m., the black van disappeared. For a moment, I thought maybe they'd backed off. I was wrong. The porch light flickered once, then went out. Then came the sound, glass breaking, low and sharp, from the basement. I stood in an instant, gun drawn. The first man came through the hallway in full black gear, a mask covering his face, a short-barreled M4 in his hands. then the second, then the third. They moved with speed, with coordination. My mother screamed. My father leapt from the couch but was immediately shoved back into the wall. Nathan tried to run. He didn't make it 2 steps. They pinned him down. Then came the fourth. Taller, slower. He didn't rush. His mask was bulkier, voice modulated. I saw the tattoo on his wrist. The unmistakable outline of a phoenix engulfed in flames. He pointed his weapon at my father's head. "The drive," he said calmly. 24 hours, or he dies. He tossed a satellite phone at my feet. 1 number, no police. 1 mistake, and we paint this floor with blood. I dropped to my knees, feigning panic. I could give them the drive and save my family, but I knew what was inside. Plans for an attack on Denver. Chemical agents, timed detonations. If I gave that up, the entire city could go dark. The leader moved past me, bent down, and whispered through his mask. "You used to be one of them. Now you belong to us. See you soon, Raven." Raven. No one outside the agency had ever called me that. Only one person ever knew. I stood frozen, mind racing. He knew me. And if he knew me, then this wasn't random. This was personal. They tied my wrists with plastic zip cords and sat me next to my mother in the dining room. The last man left behind to guard us paced in slow, lazy circles. Inside my left boot, pressed tightly against the seam, was a small, folding blade. The guard went upstairs to check something. I tilted to the side and began slicing through the plastic cord. It took 11 minutes of steady, careful pressure. Finally, it gave way. I crawled to the kitchen, then down into the basement. I found the electrical box. A new wire had been spliced into the side. I followed it to a gray module, a blinking red light. GPS. I clipped the connection. Heavy, fast footsteps thundered above me. The guard had heard it. He was coming. I waited until he was within a meter, then moved. I grabbed his wrist, twisting the weapon away, and drove my elbow into his throat. He staggered. I slipped behind him, arm around his neck, squeezing until he stopped fighting. Back upstairs, I led my family through the dark kitchen to the old shed at the edge of the yard. In the far corner, buried, was the emergency pack I'd hidden years ago. A Glock, maps, an encrypted laptop, and a satellite phone. My mother whispered, "Elena, what is this? What are you?" I didn't sugarcoat it. "I'm the only person sane enough to keep you alive." I opened the satellite phone and called Sarah. "Elena," she said, "Phoenix has restructured. They're back, and they're not working alone. There's someone funding them, high level. We think it's Grayson." My spine stiffened. Of course it was him. Paul Grayson, the man I tried to expose in 2015, the man who called me unstable, the man who cost me my career. Nathan sat beside me. "They're real," he whispered, "and so are you." He didn't ask for forgiveness. He gave me belief. And in that moment, it was enough. The sky was beginning to lighten. Sarah called again. "I pulled coordinates off one of their dead comms. Old warehouse 20 minutes from you." She sent an image. I zoomed in. In the photo, spray painted across the warehouse wall was the silhouette of a black phoenix, and standing in front of it, a man I recognized. Chimong, a former counterintelligence operative, a double agent. He was alive. I checked my gear. I was ready. I turned toward the door. Nathan was already behind me. "You're not coming," I said. "Yes, I am." We left in my father's old truck. The warehouse loomed ahead, rusted and dark. The phone buzzed again. "He's not working alone," Sarah said. I pulled flight records. Chimong met with Grayson 2 weeks ago in Paris. We have security footage. She hesitated. "This isn't just terrorism, Elena. It's political, financial, a cleansing operation. And it's happening now." I killed the engine. No lights, no sounds. Just the two of us and the truth waiting in the dark. We split up. Nathan circled to the rear entrance. I took the side door. Inside, 3 men worked over a cluster of portable servers. On one screen, a real-time layout of downtown Denver. On another, A countdown. 47 hours. 3 bombs. Targets marked in red. "Raven," the voice came. "Still going in first?" I turned. He stepped from the shadows. Chumong. Alive. He fired first. The first shot grazed my sleeve. The second caught me in the shoulder. I spun back, hitting the ground hard. "Let her go," he said into a radio. "Let her take the data. He needs her to see how this ends." He wasn't talking about Grayson. There was someone else. Nathan dropped to his knees beside me. "You're hit." We crawled through the back of the warehouse. No one followed. He didn't want to kill me. Not yet. As we reached the truck, Nathan grabbed my arm. "Elena, one of them. I saw him. Tom, the security guy from the party. I saw his wrist, that tattoo, the phoenix." We made it back to the shed just after dawn. On the table was a satellite phone. It buzzed once, then lit up with a message. I pressed play. Nathan sat bound to a chair, blood trailing from his lip. My parents knelt behind him. A masked man paced behind them. "You have one chance. Come alone. Bring the device." I sat down and opened the USB. Inside the folder was everything: schematics, blueprints, deployment routes, and a list of targets: government advisors, homeland officials, the vice president, and Paul Grayson. His name appeared 3 times, not as a target, but as a speaker. He was going to be there. He would survive. And when the chaos erupted, he'd emerge as the savior. He was building his re-election on blood. The phone rang again. Unknown number. "Bring the drive. Come alone, or you'll see how quickly faith becomes regret." I didn't hesitate. "Sarah," I said into the phone, "I'm sending you the data. If you don't hear from me in 2 hours, give it to everyone. FBI, state, New York Times, blow the doors off." The land outside the Denver airport's abandoned logistics terminal was silent. I had set the stage not for a surrender, but for a trap. I sent the message through their provided channel. "Drive is ready. Alone." A lie. When the black truck rolled in, I didn't move. Chumong stepped out first, dragging Nathan forward. "Be smart," Chumong said. "You don't have to be a martyr, just walk away." I dropped the duffel. He approached slowly. As he reached it, I whispered into my mic, "Now." A flash of white exploded behind him. Smoke hissed from the containers. Screams erupted. I dove. My knife sliced Nathan's bonds. I followed the noise, circling to where my parents had collapsed. Then I saw him again. Chumong, 10 feet away, raising his weapon. I fired first, but my hand wasn't steady. The shot grazed his thigh. His hit home, straight into my left shoulder. The same wound reopened. I went down hard. He limped toward me, gun raised, again, but he didn't pull the trigger. "You don't get it," he said. "Grayson will replace me. He already has." I stared up at him and spoke into my throat mic. "FBI? Time to say hello." Engines roared from all sides. Armored vehicles emerged. Tactical agents stormed forward. Chumong's hand twitched, but it was too late. He was on the ground in seconds. Tom was among them, the security guard from the party, hands zip-tied, head down. As Chumong was hauled past me, still grinning, he said, "There's always another." I didn't blink. And there's always me. Weeks passed. The Whitaker home looked the same, but something inside had shifted. Above the fireplace now hung a photo. It showed me in black fatigues, dirt and blood streaked across my sleeve, standing between my parents and Nathan. We weren't smiling, but in our eyes was something more lasting than joy: respect. The FBI sent a letter, a commendation. They offered a consulting contract. I declined. "I've done enough," I told them. "It's time to live." My mother brought me coffee one morning. "Tell me what it was like," she whispered. "All those years." I looked at her. "Maybe not today, but I will." My father came in later. "Next time you say there's danger, I'll be the one who bolts the door shut first." Then Nathan came in, holding the broken USB. "You got another one of these?" he asked. "I want to learn how you kept all this inside one tiny piece of metal." And for the first time, I saw it in his eyes. Belief. He didn't just believe the story. He believed in me.
Later that evening, I slid an envelope into the outgoing mail. No return address. Inside was a data chip and a printed dossier. It went to a reporter I had once helped back in 2017. 2 weeks later, the headlines exploded. Senator linked to fabricated terror plot. Grayson denied everything. But this time, people listened. And this time, they didn't believe him. I didn't need applause. What I needed was sitting around that kitchen table, breathing, talking. They were alive because I didn't walk away. Sometimes the truth doesn't shout. It waits, quiet, buried beneath the noise of denial, pride, and fear until someone dares to bring it to light. My war may be over, but yours might just be beginning. Do not leave this video in silence. Go down to the comments and tell me, which part of my revenge gave you the most satisfaction? Subscribe to this channel, not because I need you to, but because you need a constant reminder that the underestimated are the most dangerous. Turn on the notifications. Join this army of people who refuse to be silenced. Your validation doesn't come from others. It comes from your strength. Now go and show them what you're made of.